All right, how's it going? Welcome to the Mystery School.
Welcome.
Hey, tonight's special guest, we have Nathan Burton, which is actually my younger brother.
What's up, guys?
Welcome. Nate is the bassman, and I think this is the first time I've been able to have my brother, Dad on. We got to have my cousin Nick on, but so it's cool to have a family affair out here at the Mystery School tonight.
Yeah, your brother's playing bass.
We got Nate on the bass.
Playing guitar.
We got Tony on the guitar. And we had a surprise special guest tonight. Ryan Moore returns on the guitar.
He is not out here yet, but he will be here.
He's setting up, getting acquainted with the tunes inside. So, hey, welcome, little bro. How you been?
Good.
It's been some time since I've seen you.
I'm trying to remember the last time I actually
Yeah,
played with you.
I remember the last time we played. I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe more than 3 years ago, but we were up at Dad's with you visiting, and we had our youngest brother, Sean, his drum set up in the office, and I came up there and we were working on some time signature things, going from 6/4, 6/4.
We were even playing a 5 rhythm there,
yeah.
too. I think that was when we were actually working on a couple licks. We had been jamming for, was that when you were back in Auburn?
Yeah, that's when I was living in Auburn. You had some licks. We were itching to jam. I was jamming with Nick doing the Seed project, and we were trying to get you jumping into that. And
Sure.
I was like, hey, come on up. You had some licks that you were working on. I had some rhythms, and we plugged your licks into the rhythmic grid.
Yeah, I had a couple different melodies I was working with.
So other than that,
And then I was playing with my group back then.
that's right, with
We
Kyle.
chopped it up pretty good. It was fun. That was good. I missed that.
Was that the last time you really jammed with somebody?
No, I actually, a server I worked with.
I worked with Mom.
We come over to my house once in a while, just kind of just a whole bunch of fuckery. We just kind of jammed it out, acoustic style. But
Nice.
as far as serious jamming go, it was probably with you and Nick, because at that time my brother Kyle, a singer-songwriter, he skipped out to San Diego. That we were working on a pretty cool project.
His friend Kyle, not actually his brother.
Well, he's
Because
brother from
I'm the oldest of three.
Yeah.
I have 3 younger brothers:
Yeah, so he's not.
Nathan, Jacob, and Sean.
Yeah.
Or Jacob, Nathan, and Sean in that ascending order. The youngest or descending, yeah. But I mean, hey, we've talked about this a little bit before, like jamming with family or people or friends. You have that kind of kinship already. You relate musically, and I think it's cool to have you on because I think we go to the same places musically, and I mean, your musical styles. You turn me on to a lot of different stuff I wouldn't listen to, kind of like the post-rock stuff,
Sure.
like Modest Mouse,
Sure,
or the modern
yeah.
rock stuff,
Yeah, awesome.
like Mars Volta. Pretty much any band
Yeah.
with the letter M starting. You know?
It's funny how just a few years will be like kind of a whole different genre of music people get into.
That you're
you know?
into? Yeah.
Yeah.
It happened to me. I mean, I feel now, being older, I listen to so many different genres.
Yeah.
They're still popping up. Like the whole, I mean,
Yeah.
But like when you're
country now is getting.
when you're oh Sturgill, yeah, he's cool. I know. We went and saw him.
Well, and that's the thing about
No, he played around here.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
our musical alignings, they match. Like when he recommends an album, like I mean, it's music that I maybe have never listened to or hadn't appreciated before, but I listened to it and I'm like, that's a good recommendation. I feel though we like different styles of music and introduce each other to a lot of music, they're all in alignment where some people, they recommend a tune and you're like, yeah, I see why you like it. I can appreciate it, but it's not my style. And even when it's not the genre that's my style, the band is my style.
No, for sure. And I was going to say, to counter that, I mean, even though we were growing up as brothers, we were pretty far apart in age, 8 years, but a lot of the music that I started listening to is because of you and Jacob. I mean, that was really what set me off. And then, of course, Dad playing the guitar and being into the whole jam band thing, 60s, 70s, Yes, King Crimson, stuff like that.
What's your first musical influence, like your first musical memory that was really something that
Well, I mean,
changed your
I'll
musical
stay on the
world?
bass side of things. I mean, I am a bass player. I think that I really got into, Les Claypool was like defining wow. I was like growing up listening to kind of like alternative, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, like older stuff, but like, yeah, like fuck yeah, like Flea's awesome, but Les Claypool was more like the next thing where he's a knobhead, he's a pedal guy. He's like, this shit he would do with delay was like, what? No one's doing that on the bass, you know. So yeah, that was probably the first wow, and then
And he's a front man.
and he's a front man, which is cool. I mean, this, yeah, and now so much, you know, I've listened to him, seen him so many times live. It's just like, you know, maybe thing of the past, but I still love what he's doing with.
He impresses me every time I see him.
Yeah,
I see him at least once, twice a year.
He's rad.
With Primus or by himself.
He's rad. But yeah, I mean that started, but.
So it was like Suck on This. Did I give you that cassette tape?
Yeah.
I remember I got that cassette tape going. I went to Monterey with Grandma, Jan. I think I was like 9 years old, 10 years old. And on the way down, we stopped at one of the music stores in Auburn, and I bought the cassette.
Was it Cherry Records? I just was in there the other day.
It's weird. I can't remember the name.
It's been there like 30 years
might have been,
or something crazy.
You know, I could bring us back. I went to the dentist and I was telling him about Sturgill Simpson, and he said he's got it ordered at Cherry Records, waiting to pick it up.
Nice.
But I bought the cassette tape of Suck on This by Primus with Grandma.
Yeah.
And we blasted it all the way down, and like that just, I was like, wow.
Yeah, cassette tapes. I think we still got some Primus cassette tapes. I know we got a couple of
I got a
albums
cassette
around
player
there.
in there, and I got a few cassette tapes in
Our
there.
first few episodes of the Mystery School were recorded on cassette tape.
Wow.
We were bringing back the
Ryan Moore's
magnetism.
episode.
Yeah, Ryan Moore's
Your
first
first
episode,
is all
episode 4.
cassette.
Who
was on
here
cassette
has
tape.
Who here has learned how to play a song off of a tape?
Oh yeah, me.
Trying to rewind that thing.
I used to record it off the stereo with the tape player, and
never have.
record this. Wait for your favorite song to
I don't
play
think-
on the radio station, then record it.
I guess it's possible because I remember I think I was listening to tapes when I started playing guitar, but it's possible I was doing it. I'm not sure.
I remember after trying to get a riff, like after try 10, you just hear the and it just eats it.
Oh yeah,
Just like
winding,
the Cookie Monster,
winding.
man. It's gone.
You
Damn,
chewed up
Dad.
a couple tapes, huh?
Oh yeah, easily.
And now you chew tobacco.
Isn't see it? See
That's
how it
the
works?
adult thing now. Huh?
See, you got to keep
Right
the
on.
kids off of tapes. It's
There
a
you-
gateway.
Yeah, it is a gateway. Kids, listen to this. We warned you. Don't chew too much on the magnetism. It'll lead you to Copenhagen.
I would say, I mean, thinking now, I mean, obviously Les Claypool was like a defining bass player in our generation, but then like Tool, you know, I'm a Tool
Yeah.
head. That was where I really started having spiritual moments. I mean,
A whole new environment to the bass than just being funky
yeah,
or
all the rhythms
percussive.
they're doing, all the different weird time signatures, sacred geometry. That's when
The effects.
that really, you know, it what's the guy's name before Justin Chancellor?
Paul Diamore.
Diamore. Yeah, so Diamore and Chancellor, I mean, they're equally as awesome. Not showy, but I mean, to play next to Danny Carey and hold it down, all the different counting they do is
Yeah.
just exceptional. And they really I mean, they evolved. I mean, metal or the really the hard rock shit. They're like, all right, we're gonna do this. Back in the '90s, really angry and aggressively, but we're gonna do it hopped up on a whole bunch of hallucinogens and tell you, have a story to tell you.
Yeah, a tongue-in-cheek message where the angst and like frustration put out there it's all tongue-in-cheek and a funny joke to a very like enlightened, you know.
I mean, that's a cool way. That's a cool way of putting it for sure. And then it's cool seeing like people like even the crowd evolve. I mean, I still go meet a bunch of fucking assholes at Tool shows, but I mean, just to see some of the like steel-toed, black wearing like big old skinheads, back when they were playing.
Yeah, my first Tool show was at the Oakland Coliseum, New Year's Eve, 1994, opening up for Primus.
That's when you bit your tongue.
That's when I bit my tongue off in the mosh pit. But I'm walking down there with my buddy Jeremy, who was on episode 5, the Torque guitar player, and my dad brought us down there. And we just there's no alcohol inside, so the parking lot's littered with little mini alcohol things. People are getting smashed in the parking lot. We walked down the tunnel, and Everclear was the opening band. They hadn't even started yet, and the tunnel's lined at first
Everclear,
aid,
that's
but
a good
they're
band.
bloody, they're bleeding, and that was when they would let you into the shows with full-on spikes, like 6-inch spikes on these guys' shoulders and their black leather. You know, everybody thought Tool was satanic, so you had these like fake devil worshippers in there with like just thrashing people, you know. And anyways, what Tony talked about, biting my tongue off. I was in the mosh pit during Primus, like maybe like 10, 12 rows back. I was really little, and I was jumping like they jump as the pit's going. And as I'm jumping, this tall dude in front of me, as I'm coming down, he's coming up, and my chin catches the back of his shoulder.
Oh, man.
And I just clamp down on the tip of my tongue, like hold it, and I feel like, you know, the chunk in my mouth, like spit it out, like, oh God, like the air hitting it was a new sensation at 12 years old that I'd never experienced. I curled it as best as I could, and I'm like, look around me, and it had filled in through Everclear to I'm like, wow, I have a long way to go. So like, how am I going to get my way out of this mosh pit? Yeah, it's bleeding. I'm like trying to keep it in my mouth, like spit it out.
Swallowing blood.
I was trying to just spitting it out. And like I turn around and I go, the only way I'm going to get out of here is I think of something. I go, I'm going to puke. And like I'm like, and like everybody kind of clears out. I'm going to puke, and just perfect way entered for me.
Yeah,
Like,
bleeding profusely out your mouth doesn't do it at a Tool show.
yeah,
Screw you.
Yeah.
Beat him up.
But I was just thinking, the guy 3 sides next to me was like, he had the spikes on his shoulders. I'm happy I did not catch a spike through my fucking skull.
Yeah.
That would have been the end of me. I wouldn't have been just biting off my tongue. But my tongue did grow back the next day. The next day? It's like the fastest growing muscle in your body.
Yeah,
is
it
the
is.
tongue. But yeah, I ran up to the stands, like bought a Sprite, just sucked on ice cubes the rest of the night. It was still an epic show. Actually, it was during Tool, because Tool opened for Primus at that time.
Yeah, so I was
that was
curious
during the
about that.
Undertow
Yeah.
CD, and Tool blew this night away. They came out with their screens with cows licking buttholes, psychedelic weird shit, lights. They had the sound quality perfect, you know. And then Primus came on in their party days. They were drunk as fuck, like,
Yeah.
you know, or like, damn, like, yeah, probably tweet. Who knows? I loved them at the time, and I'm like, Southbound Pachyderm, it's about time to go. Like, we kind of beat the crowd at that point. You know, my dad's was like, I went along with it. But,
Well, yeah, you're 12 years old, and
yeah, I was like,
"Get the fuck out of here! You bit off your tongue."
So did you ever have a John Paul Jones phase? No. Oh.
No, no, it's weird.
Yeah.
You have, obviously.
No, not really. I mean, I guess now, if like when I play bass now, I think that's what I want to be doing, like John Paul Jones stuff. But
that's very
I've-
jazzy.
But
and bluesy.
I don't play enough bass to like learn that stuff.
I mean, when I was getting into that like more jazz stuff, I first was hearing the old school Jaco Pastorius and being like, "Whoa, that dude's fucking like crazy on the electric bass." And then it quickly evolved me into like Victor Wooten and Bella Fleck and the Flecktones and being like, all right, like watching this guy or just looking at how this guy plays is all you need to know, because as far as I'm concerned, he's the best bass player that ever hit the earth.
Yeah.
Along with Scott Wood, I love Medeski Martin and Wood. Medeski holds a very cultish kind of side of my heart for like just like dirty, like funky
Super
jazz.
groovy.
Like he just holding it down, and then John Medeski just fucking tears it up on the organ.
Yep.
I saw that with John Schofield on guitar.
Schofield is,
Yeah.
I mean, what was that? A Go-Go? He released back in like '92. Schofield's a shit. It's one of those guys where like technically sound in jazz and funk, but then like the second he makes a
Eastern
note, his
rhythm.
tone, you just know you're like, oh, Schofield's playing.
Him,
Yeah. It's got those
he
bends.
was the guy, like, I listened to him at the show. Like, I didn't know much about him when I saw him. You know, I'd heard him a little bit.
Yeah.
But, like, even any recordings or nothing has, like, come close to that tone he had at the show.
very unique.
It was,
yeah.
like, it just sounded like...
It's crystal clear.
It sounded to me like he could play, like, horn lines, and you'd swear there was a horn.
Yeah.
He could play, like, trumpet riffs. But,
Even
like...
organ too. Like him, like I'll be listening to him and like another like unrelated musician, Charlie Hunter. Like he has like these like organ qualities sometimes.
Uh-huh.
We're like, whoa, what's going on? Like it sounds like there's some keys
He
in there.
plays through like the Wurlitzer speaker though,
Yeah.
with the
Exactly.
So,
But
that's
yeah,
his effect.
Schofield's
The Leslie?
awesome, man.
or the Leslie with the spinning.
Schofield too, yeah.
And then you got
Yeah, Schofield.
Schofield plays the amp I play, too, in AC30.
Does he play a PRS?
He plays a guitar like Ryan.
Ibanez.
Like
Does
an
Ibanez?
Ibanez. But
Does
like
he
a
really?
Hollow body?
It's like a
I
330.
thought he's doing I thought he was playing Gibson.
He probably
No, he
was,
plays
but it's like a 335 style. It looks like a 335.
For sure.
He's got like a whole contract with him. Eric Krasno does too from Soul Live. And they both have this like ultimate contract with Ibanez, and Eric Krasno was cracking me up because Derek Trucks gave him a 335. He goes, I like this thing so much better, but they're not paying me like Ibanez. And the funny thing about Ibanez, they do all gold hardware.
Really?
And I wanted that like upper echelon kind like they had, but
Uh-huh.
I went for the lower just because I just don't know how I feel about a bunch of gold on my guitar. I'm not getting paid.
Are any Ibanez made in the U.S.?
I believe so. That's.
I think most are made in China.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
they have a factory though. I mean, what's not made in China anymore?
But I'll tell you what, I've been
I mean-
checking out some cheaper guitars, and the difference between a Chinese-made guitar and like a Mexican or where else are guitars made? Some of the cheaper ends. It's generally Mexico
like-
or
I guess Korea.
the Chinese guitars are phenomenal. I mean, it's
they?
like, yeah, they'll use some cheaper components here and there, but it's pretty sound, man.
You know, the Japanese guitars are always good. Like, at least nowadays. I don't know about the old Japanese stuff from like the 60s, but since like the 80s and 90s, Japanese stuff's been really good.
Fender had a lot of Japanese stuff in the 80s and 90s, right?
They still make Japanese Fenders, but they just don't sell it here.
Yeah, they picked up their
It-
game.
it's
recently.
like-
I think they're more expensive than the American.
Oh, really?
It's at least comparable. Like, it's nice stuff.
They have the best manufacturing
craftsmanship is
principles.
straight samurai style.
Kaizen.
Jeremy plays a Japanese P bass.
Oh, really?
That the bass he brought over actually last episode was
Nice.
we played was a Japanese P bass.
Huh.
So what are you looking to get out of tonight, Nate?
Oh, I just want to jam. It's been a while. It's nice to be surrounded by musicians. I haven't really jammed with anyone who jams in a while.
Nice, man. So it sounds like Tool and Primus really kind of turned you on in the beginning, and then got into like the Victor Wooten and Bela Fleck and a little bit more jazz influence. What's in your head now?
Everything now. I mean, I still listen to those guys a lot. As far as music goes, I mean, just came out of Red Rocks. Was up in Colorado for a little bit. I don't know if you guys are familiar with electronic DJ called Tipper, but if you're not, you guys should look him up. It's pretty special stuff. It's kind of like the evolution I'd follow with like Tool. It's just like what psychedelics do to music, and this guy's out there, but extremely talented. I mean, he's sampling world rhythms from all over. He's not staying in 4/4 time signatures like a lot of DJs are. You know, he's cutting it up all the time. But that kind of stuff. I've been trying to listen to stuff I don't really know anymore. I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of like weird African rhythms and
Nice.
Tibetan chants. Like just trying to take a break from all this stuff. Alt J. I mean, I'm a fan of Alt J. That's a new
Yeah, we
band
saw
that's
them
super famous
at the Greek Theater. Check Alt J out.
They're like this
Really,
like
really
pop
good.
folk, like pop folk stuff, but like alternative.
Electronic kind of dancey.
Really cool vibe. I just like the melodies. The lead guy is can't think of his
More
name. He's
falsetto,
awesome.
high
Super-
pitched singing.
super cool.
Like they all sing in harmony. It's a
Yeah.
great live show.
I'm real easy listening though. I like a lot of like mid-tempo stuff. I really am into like. Just saw Lettuce live a couple months ago. Galactic. You know, it's more on the upbeat like New Orleans funk. But love hip hop. You know, all over.
Speaking of like African stuff, for the past month, I've really kind of been hearing that and trying to research more stuff. And it seems like what I'm listening to always gets back to more funk, but I'd like to hear more of the real, you know, kind of roots type stuff. What are you listening to? What do you recommend?
I don't. God, I can't think of a freaking.
I always get on Spotify and I end up like going to band to band to
dude,
band. and I never
that's what
forget
I
who
do.
they-
I
don't remember who they
just
are.
kind of search for like that old, just like bell and whistle kind of stuff. Like not a lot going on, but there's just a lot of different binaural rhythm going on, or whatever you want to call it. I do the same exact thing. I get on Spotify. I'm like,
What was
Shit, I
that,
listen to all these playlists like constantly. Like, let's just type in something weird on the search engine and see what
Have you
comes
guys
up.
ever heard Bombino?
No,
It's a dude.
the great Bambino.
I don't know where, like Tuareg or something like that. I think like Africa or something. And we saw him at, I think it was Outside Lands a few years ago, and it's kind of like a rock band. It's kind of like the Black Keys, but like these guys are like from wherever, like Africa or something like that.
Sweet.
And it's cool. Like it's got like an interesting kind of groove to it. You never heard of the new album that he put out was produced, or it's probably not new anymore, but it was produced by the dude from the Black Keys. Forget which guy. I guess
It's the composer. I forget. I'm not
Is it
really
Dan? Is
too
that the guy?
Arbach. Dan.
Is that the guy who produced
I believe
this stuff?
so. I have a friend that's really into Black Keys. That would
But,
correct me,
that's-
but I think it's Dan Arbach who
Yeah.
is the man in charge, and then their drummer. I don't know the drummer's name.
I feel like I came across that band. Listen to this band called Siamad. It's like this funk band that was only around for about a year. And they did a lot of African influence type
cool.
funk. You know, they did a lot of Afro-Cuban type stuff. And then the members broke up and they went into more popular bands, but it was like one album. And it's really cool if you guys check it out. But I feel like,
How do you spell it?
let me grab it real quick. And it's kind of difficult to pronounce. I Wikipedia. I couldn't pronounce it. It's Cymande. And I think it's pronounced
Good luck, folks.
Samande.
Samande.
Yeah.
Cymende.
Funky as hell though, but it's not your typical kind of chicky wah type stuff. You know, they break in a lot of different time signatures and more of an
I like the
Afro-Cuban
Budos
beat.
band that you introduced
Yeah,
me to.
Budos
They're
band's
good.
great.
Did you guys ever get into the like Icaros, the ayahuasca Icaros? You heard of that stuff? No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not really familiar. I haven't really.
It's they're like in the Amazon, but they're like these guys singing, but they're singing really over the drone of the jungle. So in the background, you got like crickets and you got all this
Yeah.
stuff going on in the background.
That's
and
rad.
these guys are like singing, but it so flows together. It's like it's like there's a drone of the jungle,
Nice.
and they sing over that. And there's like some really cool songs of that.
See, I love that stuff. I just, it's right up my alley. I was thinking, on the same kind of thing, this like didgeridoo. I would love to find a didgeridoo player, just like
Oh.
having them do. I mean, I can't technically tell you all the different sounds they do, all like the bird calls and dog call and like super wild stuff. It so brings you back to the roots, and that's why I kind of like all that stuff.
That's cool.
You want to know
just
how to make a
just
budget
puts you in a
didgeridoo
place.
that I made before that actually
PVC pipe,
no that I
A looper pedal.
wrapping paper
you take
rolls.
2 rolls from shrink wrap, empty cardboard shrink wrap rolls, and like tape them together, and then you cut the bottom out of like a wax Dixie cup, and then you flip it open so the bottom that's cut out is your mouthpiece, and you tape the open drinking portion down to the cardboard tube, and then you trumpet it through it, and you will have a full-on budget didgeridoo.
Like
I've
Are you
done it
trying to
before.
make a budget
a drop seed
weed pipe
digi.
at the
I'm a supply,
moment, and it just
I'm a
sounded
supply
funny?
chain manager. So yeah, this came from being a supply chain manager, like in a warehouse, and like you have the days done and the crew, you want to spice it up with them.
They're like,
So we made a full
Quick,
on.
we need a didgeridoo.
we made a drum. Well, we made a drum kit out of boxes. So we cut like from a 24-inch size. We cut like a circle on the side of a taped up 24-inch box, and then packing taped over the hole really, really tight, and that was our drum head. And we made different size boxes with those holes, with like little portholes. We had shakers with old wrap materials with like broken metal. We couldn't have anything. Our drumsticks were broken pallet wood. It had to be all found parts, and then we made the didgeridoo out of that. So we had a guy on the didgeridoo, like the 24-inch, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Where were you playing you're doing that? It was high school. You're doing the pots and pans. With
Oh, that was
Jeremy Long,
I would
remember
do
you getting
Pringle
into that.
cans taped to like
Oh,
a
Pringle
guitar
cans.
case, and like with Torque, I would do the acoustic sets with like found things and like Pringle cans and drum on those. But it's going to found instruments and nature, getting back in touch
Bored
with
and
that.
stoned.
Remember that day, Tony, when we used to just hang out and talk, the precursors of mystery school ideas, we were sitting on the porch just hanging, and I had my hand drum, and we were just talking about weird ideas, and I started playing a rhythm, and there was a bird up in a tree, and it would answer me, and I started jamming with this bird. And I would doot, 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 and it would go, whoop, 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 whoop. And we were like, whoa. Kind of got in touch with nature for a little bit.
Well, that's kind of the sense of Muscle Shoals, right? That's, I mean, at least the movie, the documentary kind of goes through that, how just that area has with the river and the forest, and just has kind of a aura about it that led to so many great albums being made there. I don't know how many of those musicians actually walked out into that forest and heard that, but it would be interesting to hear
How
that
many
side
never
of it.
returned to the studio?
Yeah, right, exactly. Why did this album take 3 years to make? You're out there jamming with the tree.
Soaking in the positive or negative ions. Tuning in, tapping in. Well,
Give
cool.
it a
We got a
tap.
4-piece now. Mystery School. I mean,
Yeah, I haven't jammed with this many people and shit since I.
Yeah,
was
so we
in
got
the
me and
band.
Ryan on guitar, and
Yeah.
then Dustin on the drums, and Nathan on the bass.
we got the brother duo rhythm section.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Tony Mystery School D rhythm section, and then Ryan and I have been working on some different progressions in a little side project rhythm section. So this should be an interesting element tonight. I think we're all pretty much well acquainted. Still, we have the theme of at least one person has never met the other
These
people.
two are pretty
They've never jammed
mysterious to
together.
me.
Yeah.
So
So we have 3 people that have never jammed together.
it's good. I think that's what's fun, right? I mean,
Every
It
night.
always works out best.
yeah. I mean, just feel like you're gonna hit some probably not so pleasant times, maybe to some listeners. But what's cool is just like feeling. It's like feeling each other out. It's like when, when two
like,
animals meet, they gotta like wrestle a little bit.
Just got to think of it like a movie where there's like some stressful moments,
Yeah.
and you're like
Some
hope
screaming.
you're like hoping
some-
the
some
movie
murder.
like brings it back. It starts getting a little rough.
Go back.
And
the
then-
characters work it all out in the end.
Yeah.
They fall in love at the end.
And personally, I completely welcome that. I mean, I'd love to see you guys kind of, in situations where you're feeling something, just take it.
Yeah, I think I was just want to focus on me, just getting back in the pocket and maybe work on just dynamics. I know we were kind of playing loud in there when we were doing a sound check.
Nate's
Just play
definitely
quiet.
a lead bass player.
Yeah, I mean,
Les
I'm just
Claypool and
I'm like
Flea.
Les Claypool, like out the. I'll probably like drop off somewhere in the middle of the jam, and I won't even be holding it down anymore. I just might start making
Nice.
some weird noises. We'll see what happens. But I'm.
So he's basically the drummer tonight, leading the dynamics, and I'm just gonna try to keep up with
We'll
that.
give you some room. We'll lay down something for you.
Well, that's one of those good jam things, is giving room and letting the space be just as important as the sound. I mean, and that's how you are a good collaborator, and letting the space lie. And
Yep.
Do a couple delay pads for you guys.
yeah, you guys feeling any sort of a certain vibe tonight? The jungle vibe. I know we got the African vibe.
When he said he's been listening to some Afro and African and Afro-Cuban type music.
Afro-licious up in there.
Right. When he got Afro funky on me, I was like,
He just-
"What?"
My buddy Zach just told me Afrolicious just got arrested. He was caught on camera, or probably on iPhone. He was in a show, and this sexy, I don't know if she's black, but the sexy girl came up on stage, and he just turned around and socked her right in the mouth.
Whoa.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I didn't know Afrolicious was so
You
violent.
need to call him Agrolicious.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Afrolicious.
Come up in my space.
Well, you guys ready to get to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hey, and we're back. All right.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Meow.
Meow, man. I felt that it started off in the zone, and then went through some rough patches, and I think the end we finished strong. Nice and warmed up. How do you feel about the night, Nate? Being the first timer?
Yeah, it was good. You guys are awesome. I think chaos is good when we jam. I think we had to, like, the first time, let it out. I don't know. I haven't played in a while, so I was letting out a lot of, like, weird energy. It was kind of rough around the edges. And I was going into some progressions, but I can just hang tight. And it's cool having two guitar players because you guys would, like, both fall back on rhythm. And I was, like, down and out, like, oh, no, like, clumsy right now. You know, and then we picked it up. So I thought it was cool. I mean, I always love jamming. It's my favorite part of playing music. For sure.
I didn't think you got clumsy. I found you filling in so many gaps, and with two guitar players, it's really hard to fill in gaps. You know, there's not, especially with Tony. we like to play a lot, and like you added so much color to
Thank you.
what we were trying to do.
I really liked it. Like, what's cool with the two guitar players, you guys are like feeding off each other's tones, and it was almost like it was just this really cool syncopated beat. And then me and Dustin were kind of playing like all these off, like polyrhythmic kind of things. And that was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, you guys were gelling.
I remember when we were doing the drop D, the kind of Indian sounding riff.
Minor.
Yeah. Where we jumped around a lot. You guys were holding down like the downbeat, and also like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, we do sometimes.
A lot of syncopation.
One of us will go for like a certain sound. The other one will be like, I can get close to that sound too. You know, we'll kind of like, we'll both go in the same direction. You know, with the song starts going. Like, one person starts like making the delay pedal run away, and the other guy's like, hey, I can make mine run away too.
Yeah, I think it's cool how sometimes we play and someone lays a layer down too, you know, and it's like, what's the exact opposite? That's why I like playing with you a lot, Tony, because I mean you add a kind of a blanket to what's going on.
Like this dog.
Malachi, the Jewish
Malachi
guard dog.
basically figured
The
he said
Hebrew.
blanket, so he's laying a blanket of sand all over you.
We gotta, Malachi is digging a hole. I think, I don't know, it'll probably be a pool one day at this rate.
That dog is awesome.
It's
So what's
cool.
up, Periscope followers? We're here on Mystery School, podcasting live.
Are you periscoping right now?
We're periscoping right now.
Oh, it's horrible lighting.
Yeah, well, hey, at least we can hear.
So if you're
possibly.
listening on iTunes right now or whatever, we've been periscoping these last few episodes, so you could watch them live and see like the full, like poorly mixed version of this if you want.
Come on, stop it up.
Hey, there's Ryan over there.
Yeah, I don't know. Dustin's.
You know what? I think you have
This is.
facing back to you.
Oh no,
I think that's what's wrong. Yeah.
You're doing some selfies, man.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, that yeah.
Yeah, you're doing selfies.
We're back. Hey, selfie whole time.
Hey, they got enough of you.
So yeah, we've been periscoping these. If you feel like checking it out, it's on there. Ryan's kid apparently loves it.
I got a huge fan.
Yeah. What do the kids think about the jams in the living room?
Oh man, Jackson. So Dustin came over a couple times. We were just jamming around, trying to put some songs together, and it's fun because Dustin really challenged me to think outside of the box of like 4/4 and 8-bar type stuff.
Yeah, because he loses count.
Yeah, don't put on a looper with him. But that's kind of the beauty of Dustin. I mean, he plays to you. It's a jam situation. But it's funny. Like the first time he came over, my neighbors, like the entire neighborhood, just bum rushed our jam, and they all come in, they're watching, and
They can
then
hear you from outside.
No, there was actually a huge storm going on, and they were all outside watching this big storm. And my wife was out with some of the neighbors at the yard house having some beers, and they all came home. And
Check this shit out, guys.
yeah, and she was like, "Hey, my husband's jamming tonight," and they were like, "Oh my God, we want to watch!" So they all came over, and it was funny. It was like just bringing over bottles and whatever, and just turned into party zone real quick. But it's funny what the general public kind of thinks of that, like they were just a guy and a drummer just playing like a pretty simple song, just jamming. They were so amazed at what was going on just to create music, and that was kind of inspiring, that people still kind of appreciate someone playing an instrument. And then my son, he comes over the second time we jam, he's over there, and it's like he won't leave, man. He wanted to be in the band.
Yeah.
We almost couldn't get rid of him.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
Well, our first practice, that was a pretty good score. I mean, first practice, first show, we had a gig.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, we had tested out a full song.
All ages. Even.
Yeah, and what I like to bring in is, besides the 4/4, is like we were working on something in 7.
Yeah.
Get some different mathematical rhythms going. I mean, there's so many more
Breakdowns in 7/8.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Did you guys hear any 7/8 tonight?
Was there a moment?
We went through 6, through the syncopated 6.
Yeah.
But there was never any 7. That's pretty much one rhythm a drummer can't just jump on and do and say, hey, guys, follow this. Oh,
yeah.
That's just that's a jam foul right there.
It's kind of a mind F, really, for a guitar player.
But like Nate was talking about earlier, where if we were, I would have to do the math. So if I wanted to play in 7, I would maybe have to do 3 bars of 7 to get to 21. Right, and then we'd have to do some sort of math where you guys are getting maybe to 16 with 4 bars of 4, and then 1 bar of 7 to bring it back around. So you it's where you accent and decide the one's going to be. So 3 bars of 4 is 2 bars of 6, and so that's where I think tonight those polyrhythms come into play.
I feel like there's a lot of ways to count it, though. I mean, that's kind of cool how you.
Yeah.
I just kind of.
So what do you guys think if you had to like make a genre for like the type of music we played tonight? Like let's say like the stuff that kind of what our wheelhouse turned out to be, like what we thought the best stuff was. What would you name the
Stoner
genre?
rock, probably.
Them Crooked
Stoner blues rock.
Vultures is an album that I feel like our styles always end up being kind of Them Crooked Vultures, with a little bit of a lot of Grateful Dead in it
You
too.
think?
I feel, just
Yeah.
that kind of mentality.
I
Chord
feel like
progression,
there's
but a
some
lot of distortion.
Radiohead. Do you feel that?
I definitely feel that. Especially in those experimental
noise
parts where you're doing
parts.
the delay. I try to just lay down that Radiohead beat where it's kind of
I love Radiohead.
Yeah,
One of
and
my
just keep that-
all-time band.
Really? Yeah, Radiohead's cool.
We're a little psycho for Radiohead.
Well, yeah, I just think there's
didn't-
maybe a little bit of that.
That's a great
Yeah, for
point.
sure.
Is that I feel like when I play with Tony, that Tony kind of inspires a bit of a. It's so funny because my 2-year-old daughter loves Frozen, so she can't say Frozen, so she says go. She throws her arms up like let it go, And whenever I play with Tony, it's like it inspires me to just let it go, dude. Just get pissed off and like let it go. And
Yeah, you can tell when he's in the zone and like we're really hitting the groove because he just gets rocking out.
Oh,
and
dude,
it's just
it's
in his
awesome.
own world. I remember a couple jams ago with Steve or last episode. He was rocking so hard, he was almost knocking you out with the headstock.
No, I remember that you
was
did.
like
You
mosh-
knocked me with the headstock.
He was
You
almost
saw
mosh-
that.
Yeah, he was mosh
awesome,
pitting
man.
with you through multiple moments.
And it was
2-3
awesome,
times.
dude.
And
I
then
mean,
tonight, just
you
get-
inspire that in other people, though, which is so cool because, some people are trying to stay in the pocket and just be conservative or whatever, and it's like you're just like, nah, man, just go for it, dude. Let's do this.
What's
Let's
the
rock.
deal? That's my signal to know I'm on the right track and to hold the groove. Or when he wants to pick it up a notch, you can see him starting to get into that zone. And I know when I hit that
Yeah, there is
groove and
a-
he's rocking,
I know there is a like.
hold it.
There's parts where I kind of feel comfortable with a part, and I can like kind of take it over, and kind of lead like the subtleties of the groove.
Yeah, it's rhythmically right in your wheelhouse.
I can kind of pull it a little, back and forth on certain parts, And then there's times where I'm just like trying to get back there, but yeah, there are those few moments I notice like, all right, I got it nailed down. I'm ready to like unleash a couple licks. But yeah,
He's the Native American Italiano right there. I feel the Native American vibe with him strongly.
when I play with Ryan, I always feel comfortable that Ryan like is just like, no matter what's going on, he's gonna like add something to the mix.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
feel like that's my job.
Ryan, it's like it like doesn't matter what's going on. Ryan's like, I got something for this.
Yeah, he
That's good.
reminds me of those Primacy, very expressionistic guitar playing.
Yeah, you remind me a little of like Jeff Beck
Larry
too.
DeLong.
Oh, that's really flattering to hear because that's actually one of my biggest inspirations. Him and Hendrix are my top two.
Yeah, it's like a technical kind of thing, but it's like kind of got its own kind of like character to it. You know, it's not like neoclassical or anything, but it's like technical, and it's a little bluesy, but it's like a little jazzy, but it's got its like a certain feel to it.
Yeah. Well, the thing
make
that I
any
love
sense?
playing with you guys is you guys kind of get me out of my, like, kind of, I guess, bars of that blues kind of. Like, we were jamming today, and Dustin brought up, like, let's do something less bluesy, you know? And it's like, guitar players get so stuck in blues, whereas drummers
the
don't
crutch.
want to.
But you know, we did
So
do some
boring, you
bluesy
know? So
stuff
it's, you push us to do something different.
We did it kind of bluesy right after that too, though.
Oh yeah, we were the first four. Maybe the first 5 tracks were the same blues song. I mean, pretty much. You know, then we hit our groove. We went into the minor Eastern style. The Italiano Native American. I mean,
Yeah. And that's.
But it's not it's not the normal blues, the type of blues that we play.
No,
It
it's
isn't
just
real-
a blues rhythm.
It's maybe even not even blues to like most people, but like to us, we know
we
like.
play a lot of bastardized versions of all genres of music.
But
I think there's nothing wrong with the blues rhythm as long as you add something different, like that note that you added, Nate. You know, just you changed it a bit, and it could be that Tool type of rhythm or that blues rhythm. Regardless, it's for me. It's always, I don't know. It's like what's going to move the crowd? You know, I mean, what do you want them to do?
like straight.
What do
up,
they want to do?
I get bored with straight up blues.
Oh, I can't
too.
do it. I feel so horrible playing that riff.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem right to just keep hashing it out like really like accurate traditional blues.
I like doing it with my dad. Like, I mean, we sit down, it's, you know, it's Sunday dinner or something. We'll play a blues song. That's fun. But I would have a hard time doing that on stage.
Yeah.
You know, old Muddy Waters and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's a.
Like just
That's great.
Well, that's like
Totally
the
appreciate
problem with
jamming
it
out.
is like
super cool.
what do you have really to offer? You know.
It's fun as a guitar. I mean, you
That's
guys, it's kind of cool because you guys, as a guitar player, have the most fun with blues. I think we're like
Yeah.
bass players or drummers are like, all right, back to like.
Well, it's our jobs to mix up those blues and take it to somewhere, build on those blues rhythms.
That's really why I like
connect it
funk.
to- yeah.
I mean, you know, funk and some Afro, Cuban type stuff. You know, we can implement that blues guitar, but you guys can have fun with the rhythm and we can kind of mix up.
Well, blues is that
progression, but-
universal jumping point. I mean,
Yeah.
it's inspired by a lot of different styles of music, and you can combine it in, and you can take it somewhere else as a good jumping point. But man, I'm sick of the blues as a drummer. I mean, that's a crutch I hear non-frickin' stop. I love a real bluesy lead when it comes in, but I would rather call it tasty. I love a good tasty lead coming in, and if it's maybe bluesy, it's tasty. But I know a lot of these jams that's the crutch we fall into, and yeah, as a rhythm section, you have to know when to let that vibe sit or when to push it along. And I mean, I'd usually choose to push it along.
Well, I think something cool that we did tonight is we broke into it. We respected it for a while,
Yeah.
but we didn't get stuck in it.
Well, even when you're bored with a riff, you can't just jump out of it. You have to finish the paragraph. You have to put a period at the end of the statement, even if it's one extra paragraph because you didn't finish the statement the last time you were hoping to, but you just blabbered on. All right, fuck. 4 more bars, one more paragraph.
What
and I
was
think
your
this is
favorite
leading
part
into
of the night?
the minor Eastern side? I think when Nate was leading, I think we had like a real toolish, almost in 46 and 2-esque.
I got a lot of, like-
you know, we were mixing it up from loud to soft, and we were, you know, and then you brought in those accents when I would come in on the cymbals where.
That was fun. Yeah.
And
I really like connected with like Secret Chief's spirit there, like Trey.
yeah,
you
I was
know,
feeling that surf, experimental
is
surf.
just like kind of just picking it up, and just that weird stuff he gets into. I'm a huge fan of Secret Chiefs.
That's why I tried to. Yeah, Ryan. I hear a lot of that Secret Chiefs vibe in Ryan.
Your tone's awesome, man. Both your guys' tones. I mean, you look, Tony, when you looked at him and were like, "Let's get it," and you know, like we sat back and like had a little rhythm going. You guys were just like, just like playing with each other's tones, and that's really cool. From a lot of people don't get that. I think only musicians get that, to like hear that, like just playing with each other. Like that's awesome. Rather than just like playing riffs together, you're like, no, let's like take it to the next step and let's really play.
Well, that's the essence of a jam. It's the ultimate form of communication. And like those good jazz players, they're talking, they're trading riffs, they're finishing sentences, they're they're talking back and forth, and then rhythm's holding it down. I mean, so
I think my favorite part was when me and you were going just like back and forth with the riff.
Sweet, dude.
You just like do a riff and you listen to the next guy, and then like use a little let him inspire your next riff. You have
to be really respectful in that moment, but also try to challenge.
Yeah, it's kind of
each other.
It's a little, there's a little bit of battle rappiness too, where you want to kind of progress it.
You want to push the other guy to
Yeah, I mean, you could take it a few different ways too. Yeah, I mean, but you could look at it like healthy competition.
It just blew up.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like it always starts out like, how do we? And it's always surprising how someone comes back at you with it, and that'll kind of force you to think about, how can I compliment that? And it's respectful in the fact that it's complimenting each other.
But you really have barely any time to come up with that,
You seriously? That's a great point.
Their riff ends, and your riff begins right when there's
immediately.
Well, it's exactly like a conversation. You say a statement.
It's foreshadowing. Really.
It's quicker than a conversation, though.
Yeah.
The conversation, you could be like, "Well, I think this, isn't like, the way we were doing it." You didn't get to do a filler word. You'd be like, actually,
can you repeat that?
That's so funny because it is call and response. It is communication, but in communication, it's customary to have time to think. And people that respond like before you stop talking, that's like such a rude thing, And just feel like I just want to get
unless
away
your
from this
couple's
person.
finishing each other's sentences, then it's like.
And that's basically what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We could have. I mean, you can do it the way like where you take a brief period between, but we were going for it like right when it ends or during the ending. You bring in the next one.
Yeah,
that's what I thought was fun to do.
And then it just got nasty, man. It's funny because it almost turns into an argument. I felt like it almost did, and that is emotional. And that's what we're trying to do, right? I mean, that's what music is. It's what people want. They want to buy emotion.
Yeah,
they want to move.
Yeah, bring it into some like we're both doing kind of a loud, chaotic thing, towards the end of it.
Yeah, it was cool how we kind of just, and then I'd kind of give up, and then let you go, and then it was like quiet, and then just come back at you, It was like, and then you'd come at me, and it was fun. I think that's in jamming. It's funny, those kind of moments you can't recreate on a record.
Yeah, well, there's two ways we do. Because the main way we've done this really. When we've had me and you both playing guitar and a bass player, is we kind of we'll do long solos or kind of let one guy kind of take the lead, or one guy maybe will play a groove, and then get that laid out and then start playing riffs over that or a solo. And then we'll do long versions, but then tonight we were doing the quick switch off, which
I feel like we're making songs tonight. We were trying to explore areas instead of just doing big guitar solos.
Well, it's a cool thing when you have two lead guitar players switching off between rhythm and lead, and then when the rhythm section of Ryan is going, it's a completely different vibe than when you're leading, and vice versa when Tony's doing the rhythm section and then transitioning to the lead.
Well, when I heard Nate was kind of more of a front man type, Les Paul type bass player, it was that's when I was like, you know what, it's not solo night for guitar player. Let's see where we
gotta
can.
be that
It ended up that way always.
No, I disagree. I think I led quite a bit, and I like Tony's he's a knob and some of the fucking shit he's playing was awesome.
Oh, layers
on behind me, and that's cool. That you touched on Larry Lalonde action from Primus. That was right up my alley, and then we'd sit back. I really like how you guys solo pick it up. You like really draw that just great sounds in the background, and then all of a sudden you're leading, like you're soloing. It's like heavy psychedelic blues. Like all of a sudden, whoa, what's going on? We're back.
I know,
That's what I like best about jamming is like the ability to be like, look at each other and be like, all right, let's get back to that riff we started on, and then all of a sudden bring in whatever comes. I think a lot of people don't. Maybe.
Well, this format, like you think about it, it doesn't happen often when you meet up to play music with people, because you often have like an intention of like trying to do a gig or something. But when we do it like this, we're like just recording, going live. So it's like, let's see what we can do. You just got to embrace everybody's style completely and just like play off them, and then like take control of it too. Like we all like did tonight at points. You just like grab the focus of the night and you just like lead it for a while, and then you're like, all right, and then you kind of pass it on. Yeah, it's like a fun thing, which I haven't done much until this, really.
I love the chaos in jams. Some people will listen to it, maybe that don't play an instrument, and be like, whoa, like shit's intense, like almost like a sound of like metal, just like really, really intense tones.
But no distortion.
Then it's really cool coming out of it, because all of a sudden you're like, whoa, like you just, like you're saying, you're touching on like energy or dark energy, exchanging that with Tony, and then all of a sudden you're just like, all right, here we go, like let's get violent or let's yell at each other. And we were tonight. I think everyone was yelling at everyone, and then all of a sudden it just like come back, and you're like, oh, we're back. This is like what music should sound like to the public. Like here's that riff, here's that pocket, and that's what's cool about jamming, because it doesn't stop.
I think the only album that's ever kind of portrayed that for me is the Pink Floyd stuff.
Yeah,
it's just you get a 20-minute song, and it's like they take you through so many emotions. There's so many climaxes, and it's not cheap tricks, with distortion, metal, and screaming. It's just it's taking you through different, really a journey. And I feel like that's the cool thing about a jam like tonight is, I mean, that was a roller coaster ride that we just created in front of us at every second in front of us. It's like one of those things where like the track creates 3 feet in front of you as you're going down the thing at 80 miles per hour.
And your milliseconds of like flipping off of the track, and that you can save it. And those are the best parts of a jam, is where it's almost getting lost. And then it's just, you're experimenting, and then everybody has that aha moment, whether it's bring it back to the original riff, or they just all of a sudden just it builds to this point, like the climax, and it just all syncs together, or your fails that you're trying finally just align, and you go, oh, I hear it, and you execute it perfectly. Those are those beauty parts of the jams, where you can just hear the musicians almost their brain turning, and they're struggling through something. They're hitting something. You can hear them go, oh, I heard that. And they're playing the riff, and then they kind of fall out of it, and they're going, whoa, and you just, the listener gets that spontaneous moment going, holy shit, what's going to happen next? Are they going to find that jam, or is that riff that they wanted to play initially, they're played it this way, so now are they going to stick on that? Did that inspire them? Was the wrong riff now the right riff?
But how crazy is it that how many people get that? How many people that don't play music really understand?
I think
the math that's going in your head.
I think
not in your head, but I just feel
it's
like
a genuine
talking to people that really love energetic music.
Yeah.
I know many people that are great friends of mine who aren't inclined to pick up an instrument. They don't know how. They've never been trained. They hear an album, they're like, oh, dude, I like that. That is fucking sick. Like, that's from the heart. And then they're waiting, people at, like, jam bands. It's like the anticipation. And it's like the random chaos that you bring into order. And you just go for it.
When you're asking, like, what a fan wants watching, like, seeing a musician live, when you watch them jam, like the musicians, it's happening in the moment, so they're vibing off each other, they're seeing the crowd's reaction, so what kind of people are there, how they're, maybe they might be more mellow, so they react strongly to you going into that vibe part, or the crowd really is like just vibing on you, playing more funky or rocking out, and you can see them like just react to your each change, and they're almost, the listener becomes a participant. The musicians see them and go, oh, that's working. Okay. And I've done that playing even live with a band where you have a set list and you go, okay, this kind of crowd, they're vibing on this song. You just improvise on that moment. You change up the set list. You give them what they want and you kind of adapt. That's the ultimate like thing about being a musician. Collaboration from the fans and the jammers. Jamming creates those opportunities. I think fans, whether musicians or regular listeners, they see a genuine conversation unfolding before them, and you don't know what's going to come next. And you see, I mean, I think people like to see that. I like to see that. I love hearing.
I feel like it's a select group, that gets it. And like the people that came over to our place the other night, like I think they get it, but if you grabbed 2 more of my neighbors and they came over, they'd be like, well, why is it taking so long to get? Why isn't there a singer? Why are you guys taking so long in this one part? Like some people don't understand that aspect.
Yeah.
And it's funny if you could sit them down and kind of go over that with them when they take the time to sit down and relax and appreciate that. It's amazing to watch their eyes open.
Yeah.
Everyone appreciates it.
Well, I do. I like I've said before, this opportunity is freaking awesome. Trying to kind of figure out what the hell goes on in a jam, in the musician's mind. I mean, this experiment, the Mr. School experiment, has been really fucking cool. I mean, the opportunity to interact with people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and whether they're a musician or not, I think there's something to be said about just genuine emotion. Just people just being brave, and that you have to be brave to jam. I mean, those people that are really technically good that don't want to jam, they're not brave. They want to play a cover. They want to play their scales.
Well, it's always fun. I mean, sorry to interrupt, but it's always funny. We were talking about this earlier. I think you guys had talked about it on the podcast previously. I feel like people who know how to jam and they're comfortable jamming, they're always that player or that wants to be that technical guy who could, I've met a lot of musicians and I'm like, wow, dude, you are like crazy. You're picking up charts and just like spitting them out on your fretboard. But then like I get them in a room, give them some psychedelics, and they're like, let's jam. And they're like, wait, what? Like, let's play a song. Like, no, dude, let's like, boom, just whatever you're feeling, just let it go. This is the beat. And a lot of people, even the technically sound musicians, it's hard to adapt in that atmosphere. It's a little wild. Whatever, I don't know, the freedom, I don't know what it is. But
Well, I think one aspect of the skill is having to play the instrument technically. And then the other aspect of jamming is you have to learn how to collaborate. Like that's the second art form of jamming. And some people aren't collaborators. Some people can't play in bands. They're David Bowie. They're at the David Bowie project, right? They're the band leaders. Or maybe they're just not. I mean, they just want to play in a band and play songs, but they can't. It's a different skill. And even being a jammer, where I love jamming, like full on beyond anything else, and also being a songwriter and playing in bands, it's a art that you have to hone, and you have to stay on top of jamming and collaborating with different people and learning that skill of collaborating. Like Torque, we went away and we tried to come back and we did our solo projects. I would say some of the musicians in that band, they lost that art of collaboration. They led their own bands. They became the leaders in their projects. And you forget when you decide to make a band, it's a pact between equal parts of that group, however many members are in it. And you have to be a collaborator first. And to jam, you have to be the ultimate collaborator.
Sometimes not, though. I mean, one of my favorites, your favorites, you got the god of composing, Frank Zappa. And he was hiring the baddest fucking musicians. Like, yeah, dude, you're like playing with me. You play these fucking charts.
Yeah, well, so he could jam and have cool things to play.
But he
over.
hired top-notch collaborators.
He's
there
like writing.
Wasn't any collaborators in there except when they're on stage. I mean, that's the collaboration. But you have these excellent songwriter composers that you maybe hope to work with.
When they ask those musicians, like, play my songs, they're awesome, or make them better. And even somebody like Zappa, who's a genius, he's a guitar player. He writes it on the guitar, and he's going to write the charts for the drummer. But he's going to want that drummer to interpret the charts and collaborate and speak the drum language. He's writing those drum charts in a guitar language, and the drummer has to translate as a collaborator and not just necessarily play that. He has a whole nother role, and you have to hire good collaborators to really make Zappa be Zappa. I mean, they have to listen and, you know, be the point guards around him, and like I try to do with the drums. Whether you're playing with the people around you, you have to make them sound like they're the band leader. You have to play the Zappa style, or if you're playing with Kurt Cobain, you have to play in his style and like slop it up a little bit.
So tonight, did you feel like you were like at certain points the different, like me, Ryan, Nathan, you'd pick like this guy's leading it and you'd follow the leader?
Yeah.
Is that your approach?
That's my approach, definitely.
You like, it seems like this guy's leading the way and you follow the leader, and then
yeah. As a drummer, I have to listen to the most dominant part, or at least my the stylings where
like
it's
what
most,
seems like it's the way to
go,
yeah.
and like the mood that I most can resonate with too, that I
Yeah,
like. And
you're like biased towards your opinion of what you feel like.
Yeah,
playing that night.
exactly.
You're like, I think I like this riff.
And then
Let's
if
go
there's
see it.
nothing there where it starts to get stale, like the guitar players are dropping back into the blues, then that's when I try to play a beat that hopefully leads it to where someone can hear the drums, and then they'll, you know, play a lick on that, and then I'll.
Do you do a certain part of steering us away from certain things? Like
Definitely.
Like when we start getting too deep in the blues, you try steering it away.
Yeah. That's my job, is try to keep it like move it along and transition between parts, and hearing where, okay, it's getting stale, and then we got to, okay, where's it got to go, and like having that split second decision of, okay, we got to go from blues, we got to move it along. I think they don't have anything else to say. I've listened, I've taken the dominant parts, I don't hear anything else, so I'm going to add a dominant part, and we're going to move it along.
Yeah, and then somebody jumps in with something and you kind of, right.
Yeah.
I notice parts where someone will do something and you'll go right towards that.
I'm very guilty of that, the Stuart Copeland style. I hear a guitar lick and it float by, and I will grab right onto it.
You do.
And like,
Yeah.
I want
There's
those
certain
accents. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing how you grab on to some of this, like, no matter how technical it is. I mean, you can really, not saying that it's real technical, but I do have kind of like a little syncopated, like sometimes people playing with me, the rhythm's hard to get sometimes, and I mean, you catch on to it. I mean, it's like on almost every chop.
I like to chop it up. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
dude, it's
really
like,
like to
wow,
chop it up
dude.
and accent it, and like, and we validate and solidify. I hear your thing float along, and I chop it up, and you can instantly, or the guitar player, whoever I'm playing with, can go. They can chop it up different and go, no, that wasn't really what I was trying to say. That was my mistake. I'm trying to go to this rhythm. They don't chop it up with me, and then I try to hear their new rhythm.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you're on your right instinct and you're chopping it up right, they'll hit that groove right with you, and it's, you know, you made the right decision. So you can almost help solidify where it's going by, okay, I heard that dominant rhythm in my head where I'm biased, where I want it to go. And then the rest of the band can go, yeah, I'm going there with you. And they start chopping it up. And that's a good barometer for me. It's like where I throw my accents and the band.
Well, especially in a jam. I mean, because as the rhythm section, you're sitting there listening. Guitar players are thinking notes and thinking progressions. And all,
Ambiance.
you know, thinking all this stuff. And sometimes we'll get lost long term and not even kind of get lost of time, you know. And for a drummer, it's like, I've been playing this for 10 minutes now, you know, so for you to kind of push, and the bass player to push, you know, the guitar players or whoever else into...
Yeah, everybody kind of needs a musical opinion, you
Yeah.
know, to keep moving things along.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the collaboration, the listener. You're
you gotta have,
respecting the next part.
Everybody able to take the part to the next part when necessary.
What kind of wine are you guys sipping on, by the way?
Oh, you gotta try a little taste of that. This is some 10-year-old Gaston
Damn.
Ochar Chateau Moussard from 2005. It's a delicious
It's from Lebanon,
Lebanon
Echo
wine.
Valley.
It's got like a pomegranate
Yeah, it has
start, really
pomegranate.
fruity with like a sour kind of yeasty mash fermented
That is
finish.
insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
With no tingy alcohol scent. Like, it smells
Low in
delicious.
alcohol.
That's why Dustin was on
That's
it.
10 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2005. Some of the better. I mean, this wine ages incredibly. It's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got
It's
it in
from
the
where?
wine bong / decanter.
Lebanon, Becca Valley.
Really?
Middle East. Yeah,
Huh.
4,000 feet elevation.
Tastes better than
There's
that Bud
something about
Light.
the sun rays at the higher elevation.
Tastes better than Bud Light.
Hey, I was drinking a Budweiser earlier, jamming.
I know, yeah, I saw that. I'm like, good old red and white.
Wow.
That was awesome.
America. So Nate, what would you say would be like some do's and don'ts about jamming, or at least like what goes through your mind?
Do's and don'ts.
Yeah, what are you telling at least not for anybody else, but for yourself, that internal dialogue? What are you telling yourself to do, and then to really not do in the jam environment?
To be honest, I'm a bit of a musical masturbator when it comes to the bass, meaning that like I kind of like.
Self-indulgent.
Well, I wouldn't say self-indulgent, but I almost in some ways wish I could like be you guys, you know, like playing the lead, you know, like.
You guys being
a
a guitar player.
Yeah, I'm talking to the guitar players here. To be that guy who's present and playing the lead. But I also I just love chopping it up. I love the low end. I've always loved, heavy bass music. So tonight, I musically masturbated a couple of times, and it's fun. It's what jamming's for.
Yeah,
but
I
you
think
got to be careful as a
jamming's very
bass player
self-indulgent.
or a drummer.
Yeah.
Doing that, because dynamics are really important, and holding it down, as a bass player, you are the heartbeat of the band.
Yeah.
But it's nice to like stop the heart and then go off and be like, oh no, like we're up here in the clouds, and then come back and start the heartbeat again. So that's kind of one thing I've learned jamming with people is like, hey, tone it down. Also never to I hate. I just wouldn't say I hate it, but I always try not to play too loud or play over anyone, which I did tonight again, but there's some pretty loud moments for sure.
Well, that was Steve's advice last time, was don't be too quiet.
Don't be too quiet.
Yeah. Always be.
Although in fairness, we had that amp cranked up tonight,
Yeah.
so it was pretty much dimed,
Yeah.
the bass amp.
Yeah, no, and it's cool because
But you were laying back with the bass.
What's that?
Like, you were laying back a lot with the bass.
I actually, my favorite, you guys really were touching on some of the maybe Middle Eastern mode or some of the D minor stuff we were doing, the half step, whole step. I like that. That was awesome. I feel like we were really going off like on tangents. Like there's one riff I tried. We were saying like how Dustin's notorious for like as a drummer bringing riffs like from out of like the chaotic mess we're going. Like I tried this riff, and it just stuck on the wall, and I just kind of like were repeating it, and it was like a really high pitched, like really out there riff, and that was cool. But what I was saying was I really liked the beginning because we were getting into like when we were starting out in sound testing and stuff like that. We really kind of were like playing soft and like funkadelic kind of. Like minor modes, but like mixolydian, and that was my favorite part of it because it just as a bass player is really clean. I was really focused. I was comfortable. I knew what I was doing. I was doing like just that pentatonic funk stuff,
That's fun.
But yeah, don't masturbate when you jam.
No, I think you do a good job of masturbating, though. There was a point where we were playing, and it was kind of a quiet spot, and you brought the rhythm down, Dustin, and it was a good groove, and you caught on to it. And I think Tony just got done soloing, and then you were kind of doing some stuff on the high, and I was like, man, I'm going to do something kind of low. And I put on this fuzz pedal that could really have a lows beat.
That was awesome.
You kind of just went off on it, and it was like, I'm pretty sure you got off on it.
Yeah, I came all over that riff. I was really, really sick, like the tone, because you just got done like soloing awesome. Like it was perfect. I was like, oh my god, like that's so dirty.
And it was like real ambient and just like
Super ambient, but really focused, clean at the same time, but like out there.
Yeah.
And then you come in with a really more like an eerie riff, like slow, or like we're getting into some like really mid-tempo, low-tempo stuff. And that was when like, oh yeah, like, I love playing. You know,
took it, yeah.
I love playing higher note. I have an extended neck. You know, I love playing the high.
5-string, right?
Especially with delay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when we're jamming too, it's awesome to let the bass player take a part.
yeah.
And like it's a like commonly bass solos everybody cuts out except maybe the drummer or something. But I think it's cool for like the guitars to do something. It's like a guitar solo always has the bass. Like guitar solo, you want the bass and a rhythm guitar. Like a bass solo should have like if there's two guitar players laying down like a cool thing for the bass to solo over too.
I think you guys met that requirement. Definitely. Those are my favorite parts. I think like just when you let loose, like when you were leading the riffs and I was keeping up. We didn't have to think about the notes on a page or what key we're playing in, and it just naturally came. And we weren't looking at each other's fretboards. We weren't counting. We just were like feeling.
Yeah.
And I mean, we let. That's what I'm talking. That's what jamming is. Like you bring in someone like Nate, like self-taught, like beautiful musical mind. But you see an F and you're like, where is it? You'll hit it when you hear it, right? Yeah, and so you just let that person go, and they'll hit all the right goddamn notes if they're a collaborator, Whereas the person who knows every single note and minor and major and the scales, they may not be able to even let loose from that. They're so tied in. So tonight was a good experiment on going in between that, where we would start on a bar, and those are in my opinion, the rough moments, when we were trying to.
And that's what happens when you get 4 musicians in a room that don't play with each other off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of it. It's not you're gonna hear bad notes or whatever. You're gonna hear like maybe some rough riffs, but I just love like a lot of times we were feeling each other out, and then you can hear on the jams when we listen to it again, which I will. When it's rough, like feeling it out, we're like trying to transition, but then we're trying to be there in the present, and then all of a sudden we'll all be like on that plane and be like, all right, so we're meeting here, who's gonna take it away? And like what was cool about that is someone always ended up taking it away, and that's the beauty of jamming. It's not all pretty notes. It's like, hey, what's gonna happen at complete random, especially like what we were playing, it was pretty heavy at times. I mean, there's some heavy energy gone for sure.
Heavy. Well, I think the sign of a good night is it progressively gets better, and like in my mind, it did. I think we started off really rough with the crutches of blues, and we were kind of feeling like Nate said we hadn't met. We were feeling each other out, but we learned, and we adapted.
Apologize.
No, but we adapted, and we learned from our fails, and we learned where those fails should be the right things to keep playing on, and I think we ended strong. I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
No, I feel like I got to know you guys a little bit better just by like jamming, like very, very two distinct styles, but very similar. Like the synergetic exchange, I could tell that musical brothers on some plane, and that's rad to have.
Yeah,
like,
me and Ryan have played together enough to like. I feel like I know what you do.
That's your 5th time on the show, right? Well, from the first time Ryan came on the show, I knew that was a tone and a sound that like I related to immediately.
The cool thing is that we have a good kind of contradictory tone too. I mean, you've got the AC30, I've got the more Fender
complementary tone.
Yeah, and I really try and play up the more Fendery tone, so to kind of give that contrast. And dude, the ambient stuff you do,
do you have an auto wah on, or do you play with a wah?
Yeah, so I've got
how do you get that?
I've got a wah wah, but man, I just don't play that thing very
That's
often.
the Mad Professor, right? He's talking about.
Is that on is that
auto
on
wah?
mainly?
Yeah, or the envelope filter.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's your patented sound, I'd say.
Yeah, I like it.
You know,
It's funny because those envelope filters, and Tony knows. It's like
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
they never sound like they're so like touchy.
Yeah.
They're unique. They're unique to the player. They almost like
They are. But
learn.
it takes a lot of
They're
work to get them to
very
where you want them to be,
sensitive.
man.
Yeah.
It's like every time you hit it, it's like, damn it, that's not where I wanted.
They're finicky.
At the
things.
same time, it's
They're
exactly
finicky,
what
man.
you want.
And they're very.
wanted.
They're very 70s sounding, like a little disco-y. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Well, because Tony,
You
yours
use it-
envelope
I
filter
love that
reacts
Grateful
differently to
Dead
you, and it gets
tone.
your patented sound where yours reacts completely different.
I do
from
mine
my
when I do
perspective.
it usually pretty low. Like it doesn't get to a high envelope. You know, like oftentimes mine is like it doesn't get to the high part. You know, it's like pretty backed off.
So the auto wah,
Nice.
that's a stomp box then, and you just turn it on, and it's there. You're
Yeah,
not
it's like a wah pedal, but
you're not manipulating the.
no, like loudness
way,
of your
yeah.
instrument is what opens the wah gate. So you hit it hard and it
Gotcha.
opens it all the way high pitch, and you
It compresses
you
that.
hit it soft
pedal.
and it doesn't open it, or it opens it slower.
That's Les Claypool's favorite effect for me. Is that auto wah. That
What I've
yeah,
really
when
gotten
he
into is
does
that
it in like the oh god, I can't remember the
on
song.
the anti pop album.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
well, he's doing like a fuzz. It's like almost like fuzz box. I love his delay.
The Ramblin' Man.
I love delay.
Listen
Like,
to the
you guys
bass line on
I love the
Ramblin' Man.
reverse delay thing going for a little bit there.
I did a little reverse delay tonight.
Yeah, that was really cool. I was like, it just reminds me of home. Like,
you
it's just
listen to the
comfortable. You're just like, yeah.
Well, you have 2 delay pedals on your board, right?
Only one now. Just the DL4 line 6.
Oh, okay. I've got 2 on mine. Well, yours does like 2 at one time.
Yeah, I mean it's got a few settings.
Did you guys listen to the Return of the Duo episode?
I
Where
did
it was
listen
just
to that, yeah.
Tony and I, and like the effects.
You listen to it?
You know?
Our last one we
I listened to
did?
Did you
about
name-
half of it.
Listen
What
to
was
Not all
that?
the way
Then what
through.
was-
The most recent episode 20, the Return of the Duo, was just me and Tony.
I'm
He's
not.
got
I know.
all
I
kinds
don't.
of weird. I
I
think
don't.
I sent it to you.
I'm playing
No.
bass with my feet on the organ
I
pedals.
heard that, yeah. I was
No,
like,
I don't
dude,
think-
he's
It's
I
just
on
the two of
bass.
us, and like there's all kinds of just trippy.
That's
I
awesome.
got
It sounded good,
4
man.
signals.
I was
Maybe
trying
I
to
did
figure it
listen
out,
to it.
'cause
Did
I
you
was
send me
like,
that a couple
duo,
weeks
it's gotta
ago?
be 2 of them.
It's just us.
Well, you think of a
I was
three-piece,
making a
I
lot of
mean-
noise. I had 4 signals running.
The responsibilities
Bass
of a
amp
duo
and
is
3 guitar amps and 90 pedals.
What response?
So how many
of a duo. I mean,
amps were
man,
you playing your guitar through?
I had like every effect I have going.
Whatever.
it's
My guitar would go through
there's
3,
no room for any mistakes.
and then my the organ went through a bass amp, and I was mostly playing the foot
you had
pedals.
4 amps going, right?
Yeah, I had the sitar pedal, and I had a stereo signal going.
Do you ever
So-
play guitar through that bass amp? Through that basement?
It was tonight. I was the Fender Bassman. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, were you?
I was doing stereo signal tonight.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, the
Yeah,
duo is
actually,
the
I mean,
ultimate.
your tone tonight was just
right. What
off
would
the
you
So I
say?
had
hook,
2 amps
dude.
going. So because before you came, I had it set up in a stereo signal.
Yeah.
With the stereo line, some stereo delays. So there's some ping pong delays that are going to go on too.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in the mix.
Hey,
It was a
when's
fun
the,
one with the
when's the
duo.
last show going to be
lot,
done?
lot to hold down.
With Jeremy.
Still a little
We're
ways.
like 4 behind.
Get that baby up.
I know.
4 behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
Well, hey, another
Want to say goodbye?
successful
Let's
mystery
we're gonna
school
wrap it up.
episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
let's-
mean, thanks for coming, little bro.
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for
Yeah,
coming,
Nate
man.
on.
Comedian
Cool.
Nate.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Kicked
nice
ass
meeting you.
tonight,
Yeah,
man.
the
basement.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for inviting
Awesome
me.
jamming. It was cool.
I've been anticipating this for a long time. It was a lot of fun.
Anything else you'd like to add? Any websites?
Yeah, I was pretty pissed because I had my bass amp, my rig, my GK in the shop for 3 weeks. And the driver, I have a blown speaker on it. I told the guy this, and like the dude doesn't pick it up for two weeks from the shop, and he orders a horn from GK. My horn's
Paul
fine.
Crawford working on your shit?
No, not Encore.
Yeah, some stoner guy.
Up in Tahoe, but like I sent this rig in a month ago. Didn't get fixed. So if I get invited back,
Damn.
I'm hoping I can have my bass amp because I was really bummed about that.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I appreciated about you. You were trying to get that tone perfect.
It really changes.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you were.
He was.
It really changes a bass player's sound. I believe. I mean, you guys are knobheads. I think. Like you guys are.
I'm total knobhead. If I didn't have my amp, kill me.
Part of it was really
Yeah.
frustrating. And it's it was kind of uncomfortable. It was like I was kind of like the away team, like playing with the away team.
Yeah, with the
And I didn't
deflated
even have
football.
I didn't
Like you were like,
Yeah,
you were
I
playing
had
with Tom
the,
Brady's saggy balls.
exactly the deflated ball.
You didn't have
And
a
I was
9-volt
trying to-
battery. I mean,
Right?
like,
Yeah,
I
that
hope
was kind of a How do you start off a jam with like? Can I just get some power?
It was shit showy. Yeah, but it worked out. It's
Made it
good.
work.
I thought you did a great job helping my tone out, man.
Oh, well, thanks.
I appreciate.
Hopefully, I can dial in a Tony like.
Yeah.
When I like mix it down, the bass, like bass guitar, to me is the hardest like thing to mix. So
Hey,
Why would you
It's-
say that?
because low frequencies, like they sound different on a lot of different systems.
Yeah.
So every system you play it on, like it sounds different. So when
You're
you
biased
mix,
with your mixing setup.
you
from
mix,
that point.
there's that, and then you mix it for somebody, and what they listen to it on, like certain things don't have a lot of low end, certain things have too much.
And not only the person's personal preference for how they hear the
Yeah, the
sounds,
system
their
that they
system that
happen to
they're
have.
on. Yeah. So there's two variables.
So like you mix something and then you play it on different systems, and it sounds.
I agree. That's been my the hardest thing to I think.
The
get
easiest
right
way to
on
do
those
it is
mixes.
to put less low end in. You know?
because
But
it's
you
either
wanna
too
have it
loud
there.
or there's not enough.
Yeah, I mean that's the hardest thing to I feel like dial in for me. That
So what do you think's the best way to get it dialed in? Is having that really ultimately clean original source with a good sound, or does it
I don't know,
get to
but
tweak on it afterwards?
I think if you're new to mixing, probably less bass than you originally think. Low end is like the hardest thing for me to mix. That's what we're talking about.
no, for sure.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna say.
So is the kick drum a real conundrum?
The kick drum isn't as bad. It's the bass guitar because you want to hear it and
Goes
feel
from high
it.
to low.
But also the bass goes down to some really low frequencies, like the low E, for instance, ends up being louder than like some of the higher notes. You know.
Yeah.
So when you're mixing stuff, that's like something that you have to deal with.
Well, that's ultimately the
So you're a
bass
bass
player's
man? What-
responsibility.
No, I agree. I mean, I thought you did a great job. I wanted to try my rig tonight. It didn't really work out, but I was comfortable, man. I really was. Just having some pretty big issues standing next to Dustin the second or third jam, like hearing myself. And then but I had some problems with my action, so I actually was tuned up sharp today. So I was kind of going in and out of key there. But when I moved over to the amp, it was like, oh wow, like that's what it's sounding like. I got a way better perspective how to
I got the
play
best
with
seat in the house as a drummer.
Yeah, you.
The amps are just pointing right at me.
Yeah.
I took mine off you.
Well, it's good to have them
It was
all
nice
equally
being
pointed
between
at
you
me
two.
because I can give that
Really
good
was.
sound advice of where you get the
Yeah.
levels. Where, if you're a good listener, you can give that good input, and I mean you can really hear that from my angle. You point all the amps at you, and you can tune them in nicely.
You know what wasn't fair tonight is I had 412s going and you only had one.
And Ryan was actually louder, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's why I moved it away from you. Because it's funny with the 412, with the 112 that low. Because I normally put my amp on something that kind of props
It wasn't
up.
angled, at
Yeah,
all.
it's not angled at you, so you don't hear it, and then like you kind of see Dustin's grimace. He's kind
Yeah,
of
I'll
like,
be honest
like,
with you.
Oh,
I will tell you to turn up, or I'll tell you to turn down. And
yeah, no, I
hopefully
appreciate that. Yeah,
Well,
or
when you have
turn
more-
away from you.
When you have more
know, like-
speakers too, like it isn't as harsh. One speaker turned loud can be a little more abrasive.
Oh yeah.
Like
True.
having 4 is like full and like present,
Yeah.
but not as harsh.
Well, especially a telly too.
Yeah, tellies are harsh.
Tellies are
Yeah.
bright.
I mean,
Can be.
that's a frequency that just cuts straight through everything. I mean,
What'd you bring tonight? What 2 guitars? You just brought 2, right?
I just brought my telly.
Oh, you did
Did
telly
you?
all night?
Yeah, just telly all night.
that's
yeah, I
been your
love
main.
that
You
guitar.
didn't even
though.
touch the Gibson when we were jamming, or the Ibanez.
No, I took
I
the
mean,
telly back, and I
telly's
got
just- Is that
new.
your tone? I mean,
I think that
Your
is
go-to?
kind of.
I would agree. I mean, that gets that.
Yeah, it's twangy. I like
Yeah.
I like
I was
it
playing a
twangy.
lot of SG tonight. Telly with the SG. We'll see how that mixes up.
No, that's the perfect combination.
It was great.
That
Yeah,
was
and
arm.
that was kind of the thought
Yeah.
is that you're playing on humbuckers, so
Exactly.
I might do single coil and kind of bring that little more glassy tone.
I thought the SG was pretty, like, you got pretty raw.
It was
like
great
some
approach.
really
Yeah.
raw sound at times. I'm like, whoa, it's getting
Yeah, it was a
wild.
new sound
Then the
for you.
telly would come in, like, really clean,
Totally different, right?
like, bright. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want that contrast.
But then you meeting in the middle was cool.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
The SG can get a little gnarly, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that SG, and especially your SG is like, dude, that's a diamond, man. I mean, it's because I wanted to buy an SG, and I went out and tried all these SGs, and like, they vary so much from each one, and so do Les Pauls. You know, I mean, I ended up buying a Les Paul, but I couldn't find that SG that I really liked, and then every time I play yours, it's like a magical instrument, man. I mean, it's funny. It's just amazing. The Derek Trucks signature is the only thing, and that's like an $1,800 guitar.
have you played it in any room other than the mystery school room, though?
Yeah,
You did,
My
and
house,
it's just
maybe,
it.
or your house.
yeah.
I brought over.
It's better.
It
my-
delivers.
You know,
Delivers every time.
when I bought that guitar, I was with Brian Jackson. Went to buy an amp, and then we were playing that guitar, and I was like, "This is a cool guitar," and I ended up buying it. I wasn't really planning on buying a guitar that day, but it just like what seemed to be like a really nice sounding SG.
Gotta do it.
But yeah, it's cool that you've like played a bunch. You're like, "Oh, that's the one."
Nah,
I've
yeah.
always liked it too.
Guitars are finicky, man. I mean, there's
Well, like Danny Gilman said on the episode previously, like you just
Mike
badass, or Mike Gilman, who and
Danny Navarro was the other guy.
It was Danny that said it. Like you kick ass in your little jam space. You got the soundproofing right. The band's just so tight. You sound amazing, and then you go out and play live. It's a completely different room.
Yeah.
Like we sound like shit. What the hell just happened? You know, and like drums are really like that. Like a pro
Yeah.
drummer, you're going to bring a different snare drum depending on the dimensions of the room. Whether you're going from a 12-inch piccolo to a 14-inch by 6.5-inch, you know,
Yeah.
maple or steel, depending on the room. And I would say guitars are the same way. When you're testing them out, you got to try them out in different rooms or a band. Like
amps, especially.
we sound great in the mystery school room. How would this sound on a stage? You
Well, we
know,
have good
on like
gear.
the old Ironside
Yeah, there's no
with
doubt
the
we have
brick
good
wall,
gear.
right? I mean,
I think the PA system would be the biggest.
yeah.
You know, probably.
That's the third
mics.
variable of the art form, right? You got
Yeah.
the skills, the muscle memory, the technical aspect, the collaboration, and then you have the sound, the awareness. That kind of bleeds with the collaboration, the listener, the sound,
Mm-hmm.
being aware of your room, right? But, I mean, hey, another successful mystery school episode.
Yeah, it was cool.
We got the pussy in the house. I think we've got a few more lives left. We haven't quite reached our 9th life. Would you say, Tony?
I guess not.
I don't
what's
think
he
so.
talking about?
We're meowing. We
Reincarnate.
jumped the shark when we named it.
Can you only masturbate 9 times a day? Is that the limit?
That might be.
Can you only musically masturbate 9 times a day?
Yeah, I think 9 lives of jamming. Yeah.
That's true. You keep trying.
I say you get
Might
3
be 9
chances.
tries if you only get one.
Yeah. You can't fail more than 3 times. 9 lives is just absurd. 3 lives is reasonable. Maybe we can deal with 1. But hey, another successful mystery school episode. I mean,
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys.
yeah.
Thanks for coming out, Ryan.
Thanks, man.
Nate.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I know. The surprise crashing. We finally had a surprise guest that showed up.
Finally.
Right? Anything's possible.
All right, Mystery School signing out. We don't need to replay that.
We can't replay the last 3 hours, man. It's on tape.
Fun, gentlemen.
Yeah, it was good. I'm gonna go stop it.
Tuesday.
I know.
Nothing like getting fucked up on a Tuesday.
My dog's fucking
digging
pissed
that.
off at me, dude.